So, welcome back to Plant Powered Collective podcast. Today's episode brings together everything I believe in nourishment. We're in my kitchen, actually in the eat-in part of my kitchen, sharing a meal with my friend Heather, and we're going to have a conversation about relationships, which is a really nourishing part of our 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine because it's what's around the plate. So, because nourishment isn't just about food, it's about energy and presence. Yeah, right. And so my name is Lori Walensky. I am the founder and integrative nutrition coach for Plant Powered Collective, where we learn how to nourish boldly so we can live vibrantly. And today's conversation is rooted in one of the most important pillars of lifestyle medicine, connection. I'm joined by someone who has been my friend for almost 10 years. I figured that out this morning.
Like, time.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I know. And my friend Heather. And we're also going to eat. We made these nourishing bowls. And guess what? I don't know if you remember my podcast from maybe 2 weeks ago about the gut. We should eat 30 plants a week, which I know sounds crazy. But guess what? In this bowl, there's 16. So we're already more than halfway there with just one meal. It's crazy. And it only took me like a half an hour to do all of this. So, to prepare it all. So anyway,
It looks delicious.
so if you see us eating, forgive us because we are going to eat. We might have to take a little break and go refill our plates again. Because that's just how we're going to do it today. It's going to be like we're
On a date.
exactly, or any other day. Exactly, that
Friend
we get
date.
together. Exactly. And if you're listening without video on Apple or Spotify or some other podcast platform, head on over to the YouTube channel and you can see us. There's a question that I ask everyone.
Well, first I want to say
Yes.
thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, of course.
It's an honor to be here. And I know because I have benefited from your food and your nutrition advice. I know just how amazing you are at this. And I'm so excited to be a part of it. You have no idea. So I want to make sure I said that.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And I am, so the way that this whole thing happened is one day Heather texted me, I think, and was like, "Hey, you want to go grab a coffee?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." So we went and grabbed a coffee, and we were talking, I don't know, for hours, I think, a couple hours. And I was just talking about the podcast, and it just was a natural fit, I think, for you to be on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here.
So something that I ask all of my podcast guests is, what's nourishing you on and off the plate?
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
And so while you answer, I'm going to eat.
Yes, that's a good question. Let's think about it. Well, lately, I have really been enjoying my sleep and getting my sleep pattern down. I'm in a busy season of life. And so I have not really taken a lot of naps, but kind of preserving that time before bed, allowing myself to take time when I wake up to make sure I activate all of that, the good cortisol in the morning and really pay attention to my circadian rhythm, something I've been working on.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
What is your nighttime ritual like? Do you mind me asking? And while you talk, I forgot to put, so on top of this, I made a chocolate,
Oh,
actually cacao citrus drizzle, and I forgot to put it on there.
oh,
So
good. I'm so glad because now you can show everybody. It's so delicious and it's so pretty. You make the prettiest food, I have to be honest.
because we're going to be talking about connection, specifically relationships and more uh, romantic relationships, right?
Yeah.
That I thought, how much fun to make something like super indulgent and sensual, um, that hopefully uh, can be shared with a loved one. So, anyways, now that I forgot the sauce. Okay,
Can't forget the sauce.
can't forget the
No,
sauce.
I'm working on a nighttime bed routine. And I will say it involves a screen. Like I
Oh,
am transitioning away from that, but
okay.
I'm not there yet to where I don't want to have a screen. So it's almost like a calming thing for me to be on my phone. And I'm not going to villainize that because that's part of our lives now and it's part of a wind down for me.
Absolutely.
But I don't expect to go to sleep right after.
Hmm.
I expect to give myself some time to be in the dark So if I expect myself to just fall right asleep, then I'm setting myself up for failure,
Yeah.
essentially. So I allow myself and give myself grace to be in the dark, be with my thoughts, be purposeful about the thoughts that I'm thinking before bed, maybe saying and repeating some affirmations in my head, going over things that went well. And it's a very personal process. So it's
Mm.
nothing crazy. I'm really just like laying there noticing the darkness, noticing how I feel in bed, thinking positive thoughts, noticing any thoughts that pop in that don't quite fit what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do before bed. So that's really been my very grounded routine to go to sleep, full of a lot of grace. And then I'll notice I'm starting to drift and I kind of just breathe into it and allow it.
That's
It's just a
so it
lot of awareness.
I was just gonna say, right, just like being totally present.
Yes, that mindful.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I might try that out because
Mhm.
I do not have a great bedtime ritual,
No.
nor do I sleep well,
Mhm.
partially because I'm old and
Mhm.
menopause.
Mhm.
And and partially I think because I'm not present. I mean, what you
Mhm.
do is how long does that process take you? Do you mind me asking?
No, like 15 minutes maybe.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's doable. It's not like
Yeah.
it's hours.
No, but there are times where I'll wake up in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
I feel changes happening within my body,
Yeah.
already.
Mhm.
So I will, and I think it's like, first of all, I'm mad that I'm awake. Who knows how long I'm gonna be awake for, and if I spin on that,
Yeah.
then I'm angry and awake.
Yeah.
And so instead, I've been trying to just be like a lot of grace, like, "This is the way it is right now. You don't need to get up and do
Mhm.
anything. You don't need to look at a screen. We're
Yeah.
just going to lay here and be okay with the fact that we woke up right now." And I find, oh, I forgot this part. If I say out loud, I intend to get a full night of sleep. I intend to be very restful. I intend to sleep the whole night. If I say it out loud before I go to sleep, best believe every night I have a full continuous chunk of time that I'm
Oh,
sleeping.
I'm definitely gonna try that.
Yeah, do because I think your body is listening to you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Same with the food you eat, the words you say.
I mean, it might sound a little woo-woo, right? It might sound like, but the thing is, though, is that it's also science. Science. I mean, because what we're doing is we're training our brain
Mhm.
and we're
Well,
training that vagus nerve. You know,
yeah, and I think
and the cortisol it lowers and everything.
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I am of the opinion that magic is just science we haven't figured out yet anyways.
We're going to talk about magic later on. I'm so excited about this. But first, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
When people ask, "What do you do?"
Mm.
How do you answer that? I was trying okay, so you guys know if any of you have, watched the YouTube channel, my partner, Chris, who actually has spent now 2 Christmases actually with your family,
Mhm.
with you and your family,
Mhm.
and,
Love Chris.
I was trying to tell Chris what you do, you know, and, and I was we're gonna talk about Reiki a little bit later on
Yeah,
because that has helped me a lot. Um,
yeah.
and he's just like, okay, I'm gonna have to watch the listen to the podcast." So what do you tell people? Like, someone kind of mainstream, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I would say I'm an expert intuitive
Mm,
who specializes in the energetics of relationships,
mhm.
helping people with their communication to develop deeper relationships with their partners.
That's awesome. What led you to get into that,
Yeah.
relationship, that part of it, because yes.
Yeah, well, I think that's why it's kinda hard to pin down what I do because the
Mm,
path involved so many different things. I was, very much in the world of spirituality and energy. I did Reiki. I was a psychic medium for many years. I worked with hundreds of people all over the world on their love lives independently, and now it's more of a coaching option where
mm,
I work with both people because I noticed that that really resolved a lot more problems and they got to see in real time how to have these healthy conversations and
mm,
to manifest the things that they want, which is what everybody wants to be able to do
yeah.
in the spiritual world. You got to have the conversation to do it. You got to have the skills
Right.
that were not always taught. So
Right.
the reason why I ended up taking my energy practice into the place of relationships
Mhm.
is I think because of any other calling, that is one of my deepest wounds. I
Mm,
had to have the experience of being in a community that I was completely repelled out of by the time I was in my 30s. And I also was in a long term 15-year marriage that I got a divorce from. And when that happens, you lose friends.
Mhm.
I did not have the support of my family. It was truly one person from over 33 years of investing into a community that I had at that point. And then from there, I rebuilt my community up. And you don't really realize how important community is until you really notice that all these people who are here for you are now poof, they're gone. Now that like your life's hard, they're poof, they're
Mhm.
gone.
Mm.
And I realized part of that was because how I showed up in that community and how important authenticity is and speaking your truth.
Yeah.
And so because I realized how important relationships were and the importance of my role that I
Mm.
play in it, I really just felt like that's a common thing. There's not a lot of people who have been told, what our parents didn't have the communication skills growing
Right.
up. Our culture certainly doesn't portray healthy relationships in our movies and our media and our music.
Right.
And there was a huge deficit of people like just desiring this romantic experience and really feeling helpless and as if they were outsourcing all of their power to somebody else for their own happiness.
Well, and I was gonna say, right, because of all of that you just mentioned, a lot of time relationships, you think like, "Oh, it has to be, like, romantic," like, rom-com level
Hmm.
relationship all the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Some of the best times that Chris and I have is when he falls asleep on the sofa,
For sure.
and then he wakes up and and it's comfortable and it's calm and it's safe and it's
Safety.
yeah.
There's a lot of expectations that are unrealistic and not even chosen, but
Mm.
just kind of placed upon a
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah.
When it's like, do you even want that? Do you want to go party at midnight? Because
Right.
maybe you want to just have a nap.
Mhm.
Maybe you just want to go to bed. Maybe
Exactly.
that's the most romantic thing.
Right?
So, creating a relationship that is going to be unique for you and your partnership,
Mhm.
I find to be really important.
Well, and that's the other thing too, right, is that we can't compare because everybody's gonna be different, just like with nourishment, and nutrition.
Mm.
Everyone has their own nutritional blueprint that works for them. I mean, there are some science-driven things like,
Sure.
eating a lot of vegetable eating plant-based for your gut and that kind of thing. But depending on what your gut biome looks like, you should eat more of this or less of that and different other things. And relationships are the same way,
It is.
I would guess.
There's a framework and
Mhm.
then there's the
Yes,
wiggle room and the
there you
flow.
go.
Hmm.
There you go. Um, what do people usually misunderstand about intuition?
Oh, well, I think people make it this gift that is untouchable sometimes.
Mm.
And then when it's untouchable, either some people like look at it with awe and reverence, or some people like put it down as something, like it's a negative thing to be woo woo. And I truly think it's something that everybody has. It's just how much have we developed this?
Hmm.
And then do we have the audacity to speak it out loud of what you're sensing and communicating that?
Right? Because how many times have any of you that are listening had deja vu, right?
Exactly.
That you're like, oh, I feel like I've done this before.
Right.
Or, oh, you know, and really, isn't that just intuition?
Yeah,
Isn't
it's
that
like
just,
when you walk into a room
yeah.
and you're like, "Oh, the vibe feels
Mm-hmm.
off," and you don't know exactly why.
Mm-hmm.
You're picking up on things,
Mm-hmm.
very minute details, and you're making meaning.
Mm.
And we lose our power when we think that the meaning we're making of something is external, it's internal. And so the path of intuition and magic and all the woo woo is to me a path of self empowerment at the end
Mm.
of the day.
What kind of clients tend to find you? And I'm going to get up and just walk over and put down the shade because it's a little bit light. There's a shadow on you. So I'm going to
Sure.
see if that works better. But I'm walking. As
Well, I
you
took a
know,
big bite, so
oh, there we go. That looks better. As you know, I've always talked about we're real people in a real kitchen. I am the interviewer as well as the production crew and the editor and everything else. So, and that's the way we want it to be. We want it to be also, you've been talking about authenticity and we
that's
want it
right.
to be authentic. But
It's
anyway,
realistic.
what kind of clients tend to find you?
So, I find that people who are really in love with their partners and
Mm.
really love their relationship, but they might just find it difficult to communicate, or they might be repeating a cycle over and over again
Yeah.
where there's a lot to preserve in their relationship. And then there's some things that make them nervous that if this continues to play out, where's our relationship going to look like at the end of the day? And those people seem to be in a place where they're open to skills and strategies and learning and having a professional come in and read the energy, because that's what I do. I
Yeah.
read the energy, I read the emotions, and I help teach people how to communicate those together.
Mm.
Because ultimately, you were talking about frameworks in every relationship, there is a circuit between both people. And this is in any relationship, whether it's romantic or not. But essentially, there are two people who are in flow.
Okay.
And I want you to think structurally, like energetically about that, like an energy circuit.
Hmm.
And when we're in flow, we feel that connection. We feel a sense of working together. We have our autonomy. We're our own
Hmm.
people, but we're contributing and we're giving and we're also receiving in
Yeah.
equal measure. There is a reciprocity and it's a good situation. And then at some point, we get triggered and the circuit kind of goes a little haywire and we
Mhm.
get pulled out of it.
Okay.
And when we're pulled out of our circuit, that's when it can feel really scary. It can feel like we're alone. And really, what it is we just need to communicate with each other, communicate with our partner, and learn to walk each other back into connection. And
So,
sometimes both people
mhm,
have gone out of circuit. And so
yeah,
it's about managing that. And so it does get a
exactly.
little bit complicated, but the goal is walking back into connection
Mm,
so you have that flow again.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. So what would a session look like? It's super interesting to me because I always think in terms of like systems
Mhm.
and like databases and uh more from like a professional standpoint, and that's
Mhm.
the way that I sort of think about nutrition
Mhm.
um and what you really describing is like a good system,
Mhm.
right? Like a good
Exactly.
system to be able to communicate with one another, to be able to figure out, what each of you want in a relationship without losing yourselves, with maintaining your individuality.
Mhm.
Um, and so what would like a typical session look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm happy to share. But also, I just got there's pomegranate seeds in this. So good. And I just got one and it was like,
I,
amazing.
okay. So then I'll share like literally pumpkin seeds. I just got, I've been, and the pumpkin seeds just add like this beautiful like earthiness
Yes,
to
it's
it. That's
almost like a
so,
salty
yes, yes,
magic.
yes.
So good.
Mhm.
So many like fun flavors.
And that's the idea about this is just that it builds on one another like a relationship.
Look
So
at us.
let's go back. We just circled back. Okay.
All right. So in a session, what I find is there's usually one partner who's like psyched and into it. And
Mm.
there's one partner who's like, I am here because I was told I had to be. And that's fine. I can work with any scenario in either situation. Um, and really, what I pride myself on is by the end of the session, both people feel cared for. Both people feel listened to. Both people received something. Both people
Mhm.
gave something. So, initially, what we do is we kind of set up some baseline understanding of how things work and how I practice. And then we start by whatever is the presenting issue. What's the
Mhm.
presenting cycle? Let's get to it. I know there's a lot of good, but what's the thing that you want to focus on? And from there, it's kind of like I will use my intuitive ability and my ability to read energy to help each person express that. I'm not going to do
Mhm.
that for them, but I'm going to help them express where they're at in this scenario. And, that's the hard part is because when our feelings are overwhelming, we tend to either avoid addressing it or we get so anxious and we start doing other things,
Mhm.
doing too much. Both are avoiding the
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah.
Right? Because the feelings can be overwhelming. So when you have somebody who's able to create a space where you are safe to feel
Yeah.
and you are validated for what you feel, then you can both describe your experiences and learn how to communicate those without the overwhelm. So
Mm,
you're communicating the emotion without lashing out in the emotion.
nice.
And then you learn that that process is actually fairly simple. It's just that it feels so intense in the moment because underlying that, there's sometimes fears of rejection or
Mhm.
abandonment, which are huge and scary and
Yeah, for
big.
sure.
And I mean, for humans, if when we're born, if we don't have somebody taking care of us, we do not survive.
Right.
So it really triggers this survival instinct in us. And that's what keeps people from communicating. But you have to do it if you want to preserve the health of your
Sure.
relationship. There's
Sure.
no option there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also I think with everything else that is part of today's world, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's it's I don't want to say that it's difficult, but it's scheduled and it's busy. And,
Mm,
right now I have three three devices around me. And you constantly have devices at our hands.
yeah.
We have people that are communicating with us at all times of the day and night. I woke up this morning to three text messages and I went to bed at 10 last night.
Right.
And
Yeah.
listen, they were all important. They were all nice. I'm glad that I got them.
Yeah.
And it's also very interesting to see, we're just always connected
Right. Yeah. To a
and
million different things.
yes.
Yeah.
So I just find that
Yeah.
you really have to kind of slow down somewhere along the line and make time for yourself and make time for the relationship that you have.
You have to prioritize what's
Mm,
important. And I think that some people believe that, oh, if we have conflict, that means our relationship is unhealthy. No, healthy relationships
yeah.
have conflict. It's just how do they approach it?
Mhm.
And when you find out there is a way to approach it so that you actually do get heard and seen,
Yeah.
you do actually get to have the relationship of your dreams that you co create with the partner that you
Mhm.
love,
Mhm.
even with the strong emotion that you have. When they learn that process, they realize it doesn't have to derail my entire day.
Right, right. Well, and I always find, particularly in business, um, and Brene Brown says, be vulnerable, like have that rumble. She calls it and
Mm.
dare to lead, right?
Mhm.
Have that conversation that says, hey, I was hurt or I felt this
Mhm.
way when this happened. So let's either change the process or figure out or
Yes.
validate how you feel.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that I need to agree with it, but I can validate
Sure.
it. And then how do we move forward? And I'm talking from like a business standpoint.
Yeah.
It's almost and and then learn so that communication can happen. And I'm assuming like is it somewhat similar?
Well, the thing is once you learn the skill in your
Yeah.
relationship, you apply it to everything. And what you just said, there was actually like an amazing framework, and it sounded so simple, it flowed out of your mouth so easily, but you started with your experience.
Yeah.
I feel this way.
Yeah.
You gave an ask,
Mhm.
and you were open to creative solutions.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was amazing. Like, that was so natural for you to do. Just,
Well,
I'm sure you've learned that. That's a
yes,
skill you have to learn.
through because I've led. I mean, I'm 61 now, and I've led people. I've had teams of people that I've been responsible for professionally for a lot of years
Yeah.
since I've been like 22. Um, what's interesting to me though is that in a professional sense, there's not. There might be some emotion, but it's not as much, right?
Mhm.
I mean, in a relationship, there's a lot of emotion around it, and unless you're like me, and I which probably is something that I need to learn, is that
Well,
I approach a relationship like I approach business sometimes,
yeah.
which is a little bit probably unemotional,
Well, it
but I don't
sounds
know.
and maybe that's entirely your experience, but it could also be that you've gotten to a place that you are really good at reflecting and
Mm.
accepting your emotions first.
Mm.
Because that does kind of neutralize the charge of the emotional intensity. And so there is like in a business scenario, it's like my job could be on the line if I have one wrong move.
Mhm.
And if you're a leader, it's like my business can be on the line if this person makes one wrong move. So it
Mhm.
can be intense energies. But what you do very naturally, and I've noticed this in other scenarios as well, is you're really good at understanding how you feel, and what's most important is the person in front of you. So you're automatically going to approach that, whereas some people might have to self-reflect first. It's really important to learn how to self-reflect first
Yeah.
on what it is I'm actually feeling. What is my experience? Because it's really hard to share that with somebody if you don't know yourself.
So true.
And then what do you even ask for?
Right.
You just want to tell your partner how you feel. That's okay. But if you want to change something in the relationship, you have to name what it is and ask for it. And that does take guts. I mean, that is
Yeah.
courageous thing to do.
Right. Because what happens if? What happens if?
And then the abandonment wound gets triggered.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why it's really important
Oh,
when
I was
you
just a little triggered, which I'll tell you later. As long as Chris doesn't listen. Okay, go ahead.
we'll call him in. We'll sit down, have another meal. No. Yeah, I mean, I think any relationship is not going to work. Okay, so you know how I said it's like a circuit between two people?
Yeah.
That circuit has to be complete within yourself as well. Where
Mm.
you have to know, you know how there's a plus side and a minus side to a
Yes.
battery? Well, you can think of the plus side as the masculine side, that's the structure, and the minus side is the feminine side, that's the flow. And
Okay.
you have to have your own inner balance of containment or flow. Knowing
Mm.
that whoever I'm going to connect with outside of me is not going to replace my own circuit,
Yeah.
my own structural containment and flow.
I love having that visual because it,
Mhm.
it helps me
Right?
to, right? I mean, it's really easy for me to understand.
And then, so then when you know yourself, you
Mm.
know you can take care of yourself, you
Yeah.
know you love your creativity and you have that flow going, but you also have the structure to always take care of yourself,
Mm.
then you connect
Yeah.
in stability with somebody else if they match your flow. And if they don't,
Mhm.
then we say no and we move on. And that's
Mhm.
part of the selection process, the vetting process, which is a whole, I mean, dating is a whole nother aspect of relationships that I
Mhm.
usually focus on couples who have already come together
Okay.
and want to continue their relationship. But there's a lot there as well, for sure.
So I was just thinking about
Yeah, tell me.
one night I was out with Heather and a couple of other people, including Heather's husband,
Mhm,
and we were at a poetry slam, which I love.
mhm.
And it was you guys have already heard the story that, I was got divorced, and um part of and it was really just for my own benefit, not really to look for anyone. I joined Match.com. And so you guys looked at it and you're like, "No, let me look through it. Give me your phone." But it was still real. It was a real profile, but they just zhuzhed it up a little bit.
Well, we made it more authentic to your magic and who you really are.
Yeah.
And
Because at that point, I don't think I probably could have done
well, and we just wanted to celebrate you on there. And also I enjoy doing that.
it.
So it's fun for me.
And it was interesting because so Chris was like, I think the first person,
Yes.
because then I'm just like, okay, yay, okay, now I can check it off of my thing, because that was when I was 59. So it was 59 things that I wanted to do before I was 60.
Oh.
And so that was one of the 59 things, and I'm like, okay, check off, now I'm done. I don't, I just wanted to make a profile. And you were like, no, like people. So
Get out there.
so I liked Chris and he liked me back, and that was
That was it.
yeah.
So that's magnetic. That's a good example of like how, like, you can talk about energy, you can talk about circuits. That's a great example of how you got your
Mhm.
containment and flow
Yeah.
in one place, in a structured place on an app where you have a profile. That's containment, that's structure, and then flow is your personality and your creativity and your photos.
Yeah.
It also displayed there authentically.
Yeah.
And so that's you completed that circuit within yourself and it attracted somebody that matched.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about magic, because that's the kind of like I don't know if that's the magic that you're talking
It is.
about. So
Yeah.
you use the word magic a lot in a really grounded way.
Mhm.
Tell me what it is. It's not like Harry Potter.
No, no, no.
Oh, sorry,
That's
wicked Boston accent.
Harry Potter.
But I just the Boston accent just came out really, really bad.
It's the
Okay,
Harry.
yeah, go ahead.
That's the cat.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. No, magic is incredibly powerful when it's understood and used purposefully. And, as a psychic medium,
Mhm.
so that means that there is more that we can pick up in energy and subtleties than we realize. And so it seems, oh my gosh, that's magic that you can do that. The fact that I can have a conversation with somebody and connect back to their mother who's passed away, and I have grown men, crying because they prayed, please just say something about this flower. And I say something about this flower. And then they know that I'm connected to the person that they love. That helps them feel and know that they're loved by something more than they can see and experience in this physical world. And that's not all there is.
Yeah.
And as physical beings in a physical reality, which is not a bad or wrong thing, it's a great thing, that's just not all there is.
Right.
And so when you start tapping into that, you realize there's so much more that we can perceive, but I can't always explain exactly how I can pick up
Yeah.
on all those energies.
Right.
I just practiced the skill and honed it. I don't always need a reason for it. And because of that, I'm able to pick up a lot in energy. And it requires a lot of containment. I have incredibly strict boundaries around that.
Okay.
And it requires
What
flow
does that
and
mean?
opening.
You have containment and
Yeah.
strict boundaries.
Well, so if I'm tapping into something spiritual, I have
Okay.
to have a grounded sense
Okay.
of what I allow and what I
Okay.
don't allow.
Okay.
And truthfully, when it comes to that, it comes down to belief. And I believe that everybody's beliefs are the stories that they tell themselves to feel anchored and feel comforted. And everybody has a right to their own beliefs. And for me, I don't allow any stories
Okay.
to come to me unless they align with my beliefs. So
Nice.
it's
Yeah.
almost like it's actually easier to put up boundaries with what I call spirit, because humans kind of like, are you sure? And they like kind of push against
Yeah.
it a
Yeah.
little bit, but spirit really doesn't. It just kind
Right.
of um it's so much determined by you. So that's why at the core of all of magic is this self-empowerment,
Mm-hmm.
and to really own your experiences, your stories, your beliefs,
Yeah. And
and
your
then
values, right?
and your values.
Yeah.
And when you have that, you're free to flow. You're free to
Mm.
explore. You're free to be
Right.
imaginative and creative. And then, like I said, you have the audacity to speak it out loud and
Mm-hmm.
realize it connects with other people who also, there are
Yeah.
people who match with your beliefs. And I think in relationships, that's what's hard to understand, is that if this person is a no, that doesn't mean everybody is a no.
Right.
There are people who will be absolute yeses energetically to who you are.
Mhm. And I
And
just
yeah.
sort of had an epiphany
Mhm.
because I had I since I've been young, maybe like I don't know, 24, 25,
Mhm.
I've had really a really strong value system.
Yes.
Part of it was because professionally I was mentored by a woman in the bank that I worked at in Boston.
Mm.
We met because we took the train out to the suburbs every day. And
Mhm.
so I sat with her and she worked for the bank that I worked at, but she was like a senior vice president.
Mhm.
And she had said to me, set your goals based on your values,
Yep.
and then you reassess them every 6 months. And I've done that
Mhm.
for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's when you were talking about values and knowing like knowing that helps you um to complete that circuit.
Yeah.
And so I've been, although my values, some of my values have changed over the years,
Sure.
certainly. Um, I think because I am very strongly value driven. And then after the bank, I worked for a company that had very strong company corporate values that
Mhm.
every decision was made on those corporate
Mhm.
values.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Values are an important,
mm,
it's like, think of values as a structural containment of
mhm,
who you are. You're defining where you begin and where you end,
mhm,
what you allow and what you don't.
mhm.
That is
Excellent.
containment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not being afraid of it. You know what I mean? Not being
Right.
afraid of like, oh my gosh, if I tell someone this is my value, that they're going to leave. Because if they leave, then that's probably the best thing that could have happened because you're
Right.
not really being your true self.
Right. At some point, if somebody's in that place, at some point when the relationship plays itself out, you get
And I know
really
that.
resentful. Yeah. You get really bored. You get really resentful. You get really, ultimately, it's like you're not just condemning this person that you love, you're condemning yourself to a very uncomfortable experience that's not necessary. And I've been there too,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, I have to deny myself myself. I have to put myself down. I should lift this other person up. I should sacrifice myself. And we get
Yeah.
that messaging that we have to be less in
Mhm.
order to lift somebody else up. And it could not be further from the truth. Actually, that is a foundation of sand.
Yeah.
It's wobbly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not structural containment. It's absolutely like opting out. So you're right. Owning your values and owning who you are and having the ability to do that is core and essential for healthy relationships.
Mhm. So I want to talk just a little bit about a personal story.
Yeah.
So you supported me during a time when I had I had a migraine for like 2 years. Now, every year I usually get a migraine, maybe once a year or so, usually in the fall, like, and it's probably somewhat sinus related.
Mhm.
Um, uh, and what I realize now, I didn't realize it at the time when I had the migraine for such a long period of time. Like it would be so bad that sometimes I would have to lay down in a darkened room without no smell, no sound, no light. Um, and it was really debilitating.
Yeah.
And just trying to get to work every day was like horrible. Now I realize that it was part of my menopause journey, quite frankly,
Mhm.
and the hormone
Okay.
shifts.
Okay.
However, you quite often would I went to you a couple times in person to do Reiki and then found out that, you could do this over the phone.
Mhm.
And I was trying to explain to Chris about this.
Yeah.
Can you explain like a little bit about because this is also part of energy of a
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
person. Like, would you mind just explaining a little bit? Because I know that it helped me. And I had no idea how it helped me. But I
Yeah.
know that, usually I'd have you on the phone and sometimes I would even fall asleep while you were doing it, and I'd wake up the next day and I would feel more balanced. My headache would be gone, the
Yeah.
migraine would be gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, do you mind
Big
just
deal.
explaining a little bit about that? And I'm going to
Sure.
continue eating.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, Reiki is a very long-standing ancient practice of energy healing.
Mm,
And it's definitely one of those things where it's not a physical thing, which is why it can happen over a distance. It is an energetic healing of your system, and we are energetic beings. And it's infusing energy into healing energy into your system.
mm,
So I think what's really important is to know like we're not meant to be a closed circuit on our own. We're meant to have community.
mm.
And that alone is a healing aspect of the work that I do is,
Yeah.
when especially when it's like working with my couples, it's like it's an honor when somebody allows me into their relationship as a professional to support them and I take that very very seriously. But I would say with your case, I was attuned to Reiki by others, and it's an attunement process that's been passed down for generations,
Mhm.
spanning the entire world, and have a pop process and a procedure where I just essentially am channeling divine love
Mhm.
toward another person
Yeah.
and allowing your energy and your system to take that and do what it needs with it.
Mm,
And you are somebody who was incredibly responsive to the fact that, you went from having this extreme headache to
mm.
not the
Yeah.
next day.
Yeah.
And I, to be honest, don't know exactly how that works. That's why I'm okay calling it magic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Science will figure it out eventually. There's already a lot of studies on
Mm-hmm.
energetics and vibrational energy
Yeah.
and
Yes.
quantum entanglement. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's coming, it's
Yeah.
happening, it's getting more developed, but um, there's a lot of trust in just knowing that sending loving energy to somebody is healing. That's all I need to
Yeah.
hear in
Yeah.
order to do it,
Yep.
So
Exactly. And it works. I mean, it worked for me.
yeah, it's very similar to praying and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. What I love about that is I don't know if you remember, but there was one time where I was doing it and I was like, I'm getting like a lot of whales. Are you like for some reason? So the way it works for me is I know something's an intuitive hit when I'm just like bebopping along and I get a random inserted thought and then it goes back to normal and it was like whales. And I was like, what was that
I totally
about?
don't remember that. What did I say?
Yeah, no, you had just been watching a documentary on whales the day before.
Of course I did, and of course I was.
And I was like, wow, I don't know why I picked that up, but whales have very healing energy. That could have been part of it, honestly,
Sure.
with their song, with
Yeah,
vibrational
yeah.
healing.
Yeah, well, and especially because when you were talking about vibrational healing, there's a lot of science right now about
Yeah.
vibrational water.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a whole nother thing that, yeah, well,
Whole nother thing. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, so I think magic is when you take the parts you don't know about science and you allow yourself to be surprised and have a sense of wonder in the
Mm,
mystery of it all.
yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's get back into, the conversation that we're having. I really just wanted to bring up Reiki because it was something that was really great for me. But
So
can you
good.
talk a little bit about the relationship cycle?
Okay, yeah. So I have a free cycle breaker guide on my website.
Okay.
And essentially, it's when you notice a pattern in your relationship
Mhm.
and it keeps happening over and over again. And even if there's really great things about your relationship, but you just can't move through this particular conversation, or you keep having the same argument about this one issue,
Mhm.
and it's kind of just brings you down, that is just an energetic loop that needs to be closed. And
Okay.
it's not an indication that everything is terrible or wrong or your relationship's going to end necessarily. It's more about bringing some awareness to it. So I have a free guide to help walk people through this process. But essentially, the way just life works is patterns and cycles. I mean,
Mhm.
the sun and then the moon
Mhm.
and this the phases of the earth alone. So
Yeah.
behaviorally, we also have patterns and cycles. And so it's really important. It's important to bring awareness to that.
Mhm.
And then we think that we need to do this huge excavation renovation. Our relationship is over because, again, you get triggered and the intensity of the emotion
Right.
makes it seem like something really, really big and really wrong. And really, ultimately, if we make small shifts and
Mhm.
small changes within that cycle,
Yeah.
you can actually change the entire dynamic of it.
Mm.
And this is the healing process. So anytime your relationship has one of these, what you'll find is you'll cycle back to it. You show up a little bit differently, you change the cycle, and you go around again. It will happen again, but it won't be as intense as the last
Yeah.
time.
So you keep on making those little
Mhm,
shifts.
mhm, until you get to a place where you've neutralized
Mhm.
the loop and you've closed the loop and you no longer necessarily need to go there
Okay.
anymore in your relationship, because you've incorporated it back into your flow.
So I know this might be different for different people depending on the loop that they have,
Mhm,
but generally speaking, what's maybe one small shift that someone could make today?
mhm, mhm. So let's say there is a situation in a relationship where every time your partner um, comes home a few minutes late, you get incredibly triggered and you
Mhm.
feel betrayal
Mhm.
and you feel all these intense feelings. You might not necessarily communicate that,
Mm.
but you're like scared.
Right.
Maybe you're like worried for those 5 minutes. Did they do something wrong? Did something happen? Are they in a car crash? There's
Yeah.
your brain can go wild. It can
Mhm.
get real intense in there. And then maybe you don't necessarily communicate that you felt that way, but
Mhm.
maybe you are more irritable now. They
Sure.
walk in and you're like, good to see you.
Yeah.
Like, where have you been?
Yeah. Why are you
Kind of,
late?
right. Exactly. So,
You didn't call.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then it changes the whole dynamic. And then maybe they're defensive and, oh, why can't you support me? And it becomes this huge, huge thing when really at the end of the day, they might just be 5 minutes late because work ran late. You want to support they're working hard
Mhm.
at work. You want to be a place for them to
Right.
be rested when they come home and
Mhm.
comforted and nurtured, and they want to be safe, and they want to show you safety, and they want to show you integrity. And that can be actually what's happening, but because of our triggers, we are we are making stories that
Sure.
could actually be harmful to the relationship ultimately.
Mhm.
And maybe it's too much to say, I'm feeling betrayal or
Mhm.
I'm feeling I'm feeling scared that
Yeah.
something bad's gonna happen. So instead, the thing is that a small little shift can look different for every person,
Sure.
and I really think it's a very intuitive thing when you go inward.
Yeah.
Um, so it can be as simple as, when they come in the room, don't be in the room. When they open the door, don't
Mm.
be there. Stay in your room, count to 10,
Yeah.
wait for them to put their things down, and then walk into the room and see how that shifts the energy a little bit, or
Sure.
how they show up differently instead of feeling, attacked as soon as
Right.
they walked in.
Right.
Maybe that will shift the energy. And that's such a tiny little
Mhm.
thing to do. And it's not overwhelming to wait 10 seconds before you walk into the room,
Sure.
and
Sure, and your partner probably wouldn't even realize that, that you didn't walk straight out. I mean, it's
exactly.
10 seconds.
Very subtle.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of self-empowerment in
Mhm.
relationships, and we sometimes think, "Oh, it's all up to them. They're the ones that are late.
Mhm.
So why would they be late? Do they even love me?" You know?
Right.
And really, ultimately, we have a lot of power here as well. Like, what if I sat with this for 10 seconds
Yeah.
before I walked to them? Or what if when they got home, I went on a walk and I was the one that walked in the door.
Mhm.
They've already been here and I walked into the door, So little shifts like that
Yeah,
can
yeah.
help to bring up your courage and
Mhm.
help you to see that it's not what you always think it is.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
give it options to do other things, and it's kind of like the butterfly effect,
Yeah.
where then eventually you'll cycle back to it and maybe it's not as triggering.
Mhm.
And then maybe this time it's not as triggering. You can say, "Hey, when you came late without texting me, sometimes I would get, like, really abandoned feeling or really scared." And then you can start explaining your experience instead of attacking, like, "Why are you late? What are you doing?"
Right. Right.
That kind of a thing. And so you give yourself an opportunity to
Mhm.
break those negative cycles.
So then what does um what does self-worth play in these cycles and this
Yeah.
yeah, or self-awareness, I'm not sure what it would be but you know what I mean, whether it's self-confidence, self-awareness, self-worth.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think there has to definitely be a belief that there is somebody who
Mhm.
who wants to be on your team.
Yeah.
Because you're on your own team. And I
Mhm.
think that's that inner circuit being
Yeah.
completed, and then connecting with somebody else who also has an inner circuit completed
Yes.
is, this person is not like the benefit of the doubt. This person's not trying to harm me. They might not even know that they are harming me.
Right. So why do you think people s- or have you experienced that people s- feel comfortable staying in their patterns instead
Mhm.
of, or not closing that circuit or,
Yeah.
yeah.
I really think it's the intensity of the emotion, because when you feel this intensity, you feel like I have to act intensely.
Mm.
And you don't. Your action can actually be really subtle. The intensity needs to be held, it needs to be nurtured, and it
Mhm.
takes a lot of self-confidence and self-worth to spend that time in reflection where you can understand yourself, validate your own feelings, know that, you are worthy and you are worth it, and having that.
Mm.
But I honestly think there's been so much of a movement towards self-care and self-love. I think people have
Yeah.
done a lot of that inner child work, inner work. I mean, when I was a kid, nobody said self-care.
No,
That wasn't a phrase, that wasn't a
no, not
popular
at
phrase.
all.
Now it's on all the, Tumblrs at Target.
Right. Exactly.
There's, like, posters everywhere
Yeah. Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it.
No, it's very true.
Yeah, and so because I think a lot of people have gotten to that place where they have cultivated a lot of that inner self-love,
Hmm.
now people are saying, "Okay, but these relationships are still scary. How do I show up in connection in a long-term continuous
Yes.
relationship
Yes.
and make sure that it's healthy
Yeah.
and not depleting me? Where do boundaries fit in, not just with myself, but within a
Hmm.
context of a relationship?"
Yeah.
And so I think that is part of where people are, is like, how can I use this internal work that I've done and display it externally in a healthy way?
I love that. I just want to sit with that
Yes.
for a moment because
Yes.
I'm going to have to really, yeah, I want to sit with that because that's makes me just pause for a moment.
Mhm.
I want to switch gears a little bit
Yeah.
and talk about matriarchy because I
Yes.
love that. Um,
Do it.
okay, so you talk about creating the matriarchy,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I love that so much. I want to tell you though, so when some of you know that who are saying that I lived in China for a little over 12 years, and I had a chance to travel around. And in southwestern China, in like Yunnan province, there's an ethnic minority, and they are described as the world's last matrilineal societies.
Yes, I've
So,
heard of
oh, have you?
Mhm.
So it's in Lugu Lake, and I've actually been there.
Mm.
So when I was going to Yunnan province with my girls, we took a trip there, and it's called like the Kingdom of Women, the Nation of Daughters, and basically they have such a unique culture because women are the heads of households,
Mhm.
and property is inherited through the female lines.
Mhm.
Um, and when you think about that, because in the United States, we couldn't even own property on our own
Right.
until the 70s,
Uh-huh.
you know, and and children take their mother's surname. The woman is the one um, that will choose the man, you know, to be the father of her child.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
It's really interesting, and it was
Yeah.
just it's and it's just it's amazing, and it's super matriarchal, and I would just love to hear about what you're doing
Yeah.
to create a matriarchal community.
Yeah, to kind of get that out. So I don't think in a patriarchal culture there's ever going to be a time where they say, you know what, let's take a break and let matriarchy come on in here and do a better job than us, right? But we look out at what's happening in the world and we're like, if a woman was in charge of that from top to bottom, mind you, not a woman who's trying to make it in a man's world, but a woman who is aware of their power and is accepting of their intuitive
Yeah,
abilities and their
yeah.
wisdom, most of the stuff that's happening out there would not be happening out there.
Mm,
It's very easy to see that a woman would not make that decision, not these wars, not these harmful aspects. And if you think about it, you know, even if you think of like a biological level, with either a biological woman or a woman, somebody who takes on the identity of a woman,
mm,
their mindset is to they use their bodies to literally care for another
mhm,
person.
mhm.
And I almost feel like somebody who does not accept that identity is not able to take care of and nurture as much as a woman is able
Yeah,
to do.
yeah.
There is a complexity to caring for another life
Mhm.
that cannot happen when you don't have to do that like on a biological level
Yeah.
or on an identity level.
Oh, okay.
And so in my mind, those are the people who are in charge because a lot of people think that matriarchy is just women in charge, but doing things in a patriarchal way, which is not the case at all. A matriarchy
Mhm.
is good for women. It's good for men. It's good for children. It's good for everybody because a matriarchy takes everybody into consideration.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
And the structure of it is important as well. In a patriarchal society, it's a hierarchy. It's
Mm.
the most people are at the bottom and the successful ones are at the top and they've climbed on top of everybody to get there. It breeds competition.
It's the first one in the office and the last one to leave.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. It breeds competition,
yeah.
it breeds burnout, and ultimately it is not structurally sound
Mhm.
because you're building on something that is a weak foundation. It is a sand
Yeah,
foundation.
yeah.
The matriarchal structure is a sphere. It's about taking care of and nurturing the innermost part of
Yeah.
that, the goals, the desires, the innocent, the weakest among us, and protecting that externally so that everybody is taken care of. Everybody has a role. Everybody gives, everybody receives.
Yeah, yeah,
Cyclical,
yeah.
energetic circuit.
Yeah, yeah, right? Exactly. It's that
I,
automatic
I can
at a
pop off
societal
about this,
level.
but
It's on a society, yeah.
exactly.
Wow. Okay, yes. So, a couple things said.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just and I'm just relating it to my own, you know, life.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, um, from a maternal standpoint or a matriarchal standpoint, um, in the family that I grew up in, I always say that it was a very matriarchal family because my grandmother, my nana,
Mhm.
um, was from Italy, and she was the matriarch of our family. She was maternal, and she loved feeding us and making sure that we were all nourished and
Mhm.
making sure that our needs were met. Um, and she was the one that would say, I don't think that you're good at that. You need to do this
Mhm.
instead.
Mhm.
You know, here she was sometimes also a little militant because I have
Sure.
really poor posture. That she'd be, stand up straight,
Right.
shoulders back.
Also in a masculine patriarchal world,
Yes,
so she had to
yes,
adapt her.
yes.
Yeah.
And she had a tough life. They left in the middle of the night, from Italy,
Mm.
during Mussolini's reign to come
Mm.
to the US and all that kind of thing. So that's a whole nother story. But my point
Mhm.
is that we grew up very matriarchal, right? She was the one that had the final say.
Mhm.
She was the one that was really good with money,
Mhm.
that made
Mm.
sure that the businesses that they owned and the real estate that they had was all set.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, and now in my family, even though my kids are 29 and 30, you know, we still we still have that relationship that we're uh communicating all the time. Even just yesterday, my daughter called me to ask me for advice about something that was happening. And I think that that's so important to keep up those relationships and those levels of communication. And
Right.
it's almost like social emotional,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
um, uh, platform where we're validating,
Mhm.
how people are feeling, what people's choices are, and whether it's in personal, professional, in their world.
Mm.
I don't know. Is it, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent. I realize, but
No, no, it makes sense. I think what you're saying is in the matriarchal structure, everybody's taking care of everybody else,
yeah.
and it all comes back to the wisdom of the
Mm,
woman,
yes.
which makes the sense. If
Hmm.
you think of the polarity, the plus and the minus,
Hmm.
the minus is the flow, that's the wisdom. The containment is leadership. It's take action. Let's go
Hmm.
make this happen. Let's go make this
Hmm.
vision happen and carry out the orders and go do the thing.
Yeah.
But what it gets wrong in a patriarchal society is it's just missing that divine feminine intelligence and awareness and wisdom.
So tell me about how you're doing this. Like how are you creating?
Right. So I created a free online community called the Love Coven,
Hmm.
which I love. And so there is a lot that's focused on relationships within the Love Coven, but it's also about empowered women coming together, sharing their intentions with each other, celebrating each other, working on their growth points with
Hmm.
community
Hmm.
in community, and building up kind of uh within, like I said, patriarchy isn't just going to be like, okay, bye. So but we don't need their permission to
Right,
start
right.
doing the
To
things that
take up
make sense.
space.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And start doing the things that
Hmm.
make sense, which is taking care of each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
And so this is a place where we take care of each other. There are I have a free book of love spells for anybody who
Yeah,
wants
we're
to
gonna get into
join.
the life skills too. Because I'm again, I was telling Chris, and he's like, so does that mean we need to like, abracadabra?
Yes,
And
it does.
for those of you that are listening, I pretended I had a wand, and I said, I don't know. I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
And we meet together. We
mhm,
have a gathering every Sunday where we meet and we
yeah.
and we talk about where we're at and we support each other and share our magic with each other.
So, can people get to the Love Coven community through your website?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And it's on School. SKOOL. School
Mhm.
is like a platform community and it's called the Love Coven. So you can also look it up there.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And so, in the show notes, I'll put all the links. So if anyone is interested, both in the free downloads that Heather had mentioned, or the Love Coven, or her website, um, or her TikTok, which is also really good. It always shows up on my feed, which I'm very happy about. Thank you. And that all of that will be in the show notes. So don't worry about having to remember the Love Coven school, whatever.
Yeah.
It'll all be there.
Yeah.
So you can just look in there. So one thing I wanted to ask is, what does a supported woman look like versus
Oh.
a depleted one?
Oh.
Yeah.
Nourished,
Yeah, yeah.
nourished.
No, we're eating. It's almost gone, so I'm happy.
It's so good. Um,
You know what's really good, if I can just digress for a moment, and then,
yeah,
you were talking about the pomegranate seeds,
yeah,
and I was talking about the pumpkin seeds,
yeah,
and I just had a bite, and it was both. So I got like that
yes,
super earthiness, like salty, and then like this little burst because the pomegranates kind of burst when you bite into them.
yes, the
So
birth.
sweet,
And then
sweetness
I
is
got a
so
bite.
good.
There was a bite that was like fig and then the sweet potato at the same. I
Mm,
was, oh my goodness. The flavors dancing in my mouth and having a party.
exactly.
So fun.
And I'm telling you, this recipe will also be in the show notes. It's literally 16 plants. It is like I can feel my gut just like singing a song
Yes.
inside my abdomen.
My
Yeah.
gut barrier
Yeah.
is happy
So,
for sure.
okay, now let's get
But
back. So
that's
I don't
but
want to.
that's important. Now we can focus on our nutrition
Hmm.
when we are an empowered like
Hmm.
nourished woman. We can focus on those things that we have to sacrifice in
Right.
order to take care of other people under impossible
Hmm.
circumstances. We
Right.
need the safety to be able to nourish ourselves internally,
And
nourish
even
ourselves
like
spiritually.
the permission, because a lot of times I hear from my clients that um, I don't have enough time because
Yeah.
I have to, you know, bring my child to soccer, to
Mhm. Mhm.
basketball, to t-ball, whatever.
Yeah.
Or my oldest kids, they need this kind of help.
Yeah.
My husband expects me to be home, and he wants this, and I have to take care. In my case, I have to take care of a parent that has dementia.
Yeah.
All of those things, and my response is making an investment in
Right.
yourself, because if you and talk about depleted, because if you don't make an investment in yourself, if you don't put money in the bank,
You're no good
then you're no good.
to anybody or any of the things that you
Right.
care about.
And then also teach small shifts
Mhm.
on, you know, how to make sure that you can have all of those things
Right.
and simple meals, so that you can get 16
Yeah.
plants in one
Yeah.
meal and nourish your gut. The sweet potatoes I did 2 days ago, because I was going to be in the house. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to throw these sweet potatoes that I have in the oven. So now I have them. I had no idea what I was going to do with
So
them,
smart.
but now I know today.
Yeah.
You know, and and then the lentils and the quinoa, which I did cook today, I cooked a bunch, so
Mhm.
then I can make lentil quinoa burgers. With the lentils, they were black lentils. If you guys have never, sorry, I'm digressing because I get so
No.
excited
Yeah,
about.
I know that's what we're here for.
But
This is what I'm here for, okay?
the black lentils, there's like little black pearls.
Mhm.
I just love them. You can literally use it in place of beef or hamburger,
Mm.
in sweet tomato sauce.
Mm.
Um, so super good.
I haven't done that yet.
It's really good.
Yeah.
You can make the lentils, put it with a bunch of sautéed mushrooms, and then with some walnuts,
Mhm.
and it's like a lentil walnut mushroom meat. It's great for
Ooh.
tacos,
Ooh.
so lots of really interesting things. And I'm sorry, I keep on
No,
interrupting
because
about
I learned
depleting
so
and
much from you, and I eat vegetarian, so anytime I can make it more interesting without having more effort
mhm,
is I'm always gonna want those little tips because I'm the same way. I have kids, I have a job, I have lots going on. I have my family, and I think, back to your question of, like, when a woman does have the support she needs, what can happen? I mean, I think, first of all, the reason why the patriarchy is working is because women are propping it up in the first
mhm,
place without getting the pay for the it's unpaid labor, unpaid advice, unpaid, but so it's not being acknowledged, right?
right,
But I do think it comes back to that containment and flow.
yeah,
Like, if you're so maxed out to where you can't necessarily nourish your insides,
mhm,
we have to be able to have relationships where we can ask for what we need and meet
yes,
each other's needs.
yes,
So if my kid needs to be picked up from school and I have somebody in my neighborhood already doing that, why would I then also drive there to pick them up
because we all need to do everything.
all by ourselves?
Right?
Pull
Because
ourselves up by our
otherwise, right?
bootstraps.
Because otherwise we don't look like we're successful,
Mhm.
because we can't do it all.
Right.
It's hard to ask for help.
and it's preposterous and
Mhm.
it's not sustainable. To be honest, the thing is like patriarchy is going to go its own way because it's not sustainable. So I don't have to worry about tearing anything down
Right.
in the first place. Whatever nonsense is going to be happening,
Mhm.
it's going to take care of itself.
Yeah.
And then when it's rubble, what have we already been building to replace that? And
Absolutely.
that's why it's so important for me to do the relationship work because I think it requires us knowing how to have healthy communication in any relationship.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So I want to talk about so the bowl, we were just talking about the bowl, and I made this bowl because I wanted us to have something that really um piqued all the senses, right? I mean, there was fragrance. I like to talk about food in terms of fragrance. Um, you know, there was
Excuse me.
taste, there was sound of the crunch, there was a lot of texture, and uh, visually, I don't know how many colors. I didn't count the colors. I only counted the number of plants, but lots of different colors, and so the bowl engages all the senses. How important is sensory awareness in
I
relationships?
got 7 colors.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so 7 colors. So 16 plants, 7 colors.
It's so fine.
Eat the rainbow. It's good.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's so important to be perceptive.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be you have to know yourself,
Yeah.
be perceptive of yourself, be perceptive of your partner. And there's in communication so much curiosity that needs to
Mhm.
happen, so much room for somebody else's experience.
I love the word curiosity. It's one of my favorite.
Key,
Yeah, it's also one of my values.
that makes sense.
So, is intimacy more about presence than anything else, would you say?
I think intimacy is about knowing yourself and
Mhm.
creating self safety to share with somebody else.
Can you say that one more time? That was really powerful.
Creating self safety
Mhm.
to share with somebody else. And I think it's a very unique thing how people express this. So
Mhm.
that's why I give a big umbrella. I've worked with couples who, for whatever reasons, kids, busyness, they really have neglected their intimate moments. And
Mhm.
I think that happens a lot. And what's so shocking is within one session, you can go from zero to hero. And
Yeah.
believe me, my guy who was not so sure about this session and brought there by the end was like dancing a jig because he was able to get to a place where she was willing to open more up to that
Mm,
that side of things. It's
yeah,
surprising how much can happen in just one session, but
sure.
I think intimacy has to begin with that self-knowledge and that permission to have that pleasure and that safe container
Mhm.
internally so that when you bring that to another person, not only are you willing to share that with somebody else, but you're willing to put up boundaries around, the people who can't go there with you,
Right.
right? And when you make that about you and your partner,
Mhm.
um presence definitely.
Yeah.
You don't have to try to be present because you've already set up so much safety around
So I want to ask you,
it.
what, because you said, the guy was doing a jig and like in one session, and oftentimes,
Yeah,
sometimes it can happen in one session because a lot of people automatically go, this sounds really interesting, but, how much time do I have to invest? Do I have the time to invest? How many sessions?
sure.
How many hours per session? Can you give us like a little bit of the structure around that?
Yeah, so it really is about you have to prioritize this time. And I sometimes will joke with people and say, "Let me have the argument with your spouse for you," or
Yeah.
like with you so
Yeah.
that you because the truth of the matter is if you don't have these conversations, if you don't do this work, it will I mean, if you've ever had an argument and it can ruin your next day, your week even. People can be silent treatmenting each other for the longest time. It's a huge issue in these relationships. So it might seem like, God, this is so much work that we have to do, but it really could take it could take an hour and a half and then you see me 3 months later.
Mm.
Or it's like a monthly check-in. There are people who will come for 3 weeks in a row and then we'll do a month after that. So their packages is not necessarily a one size fits all, but
Right.
it's very in tune with what
Yeah.
the couple needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Because it's coaching. coaching, right?
Exactly.
It's not like here's the structure. It's not flexible. This is exactly what you do.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, yeah.
And really when you're in these sessions, like I said, you learn how to communicate, so you need me less, and
Mm,
that's kind of the goal.
right. That you coach out of a
Teach
job.
them.
Yes.
Exactly, exactly. I'm fine with
All right.
that.
Now, here's the part that I have been waiting for.
Yeah, yeah, no, if you join my community on school, you get the
Yes.
free book of love spells.
Okay. Tell me what a love spell is and what does that mean? And
Yeah,
can you give us a love spell like
sure.
that we could try?
Yeah, absolutely. They're meant to be simple.
Yes.
So the love spells that I
Okay.
pulled were from the relationship issues that I see most in my sessions.
Hmm.
So that I could say, hey, if you're feeling resentment, if you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling a sense of betrayal, go to this page
Okay.
and do this ritual. And at the root of it, ritual is really what a love spell is.
Okay.
So it's using words, it's using actions, it's using symbols
Okay.
to set intentions of what you want to create and open your awareness to what you want to create. So it's not necessarily about coercing another person,
Okay.
but it's about your so kind of like earlier when I mentioned boundaries in this spiritual sense, there's something that you want in your imagination, in your thought life, in your desires, and
Hmm.
you want to make it real.
Yeah.
You start with a ritual. Before it can show up in your life, you want to make it real on this physical plane because we are physical beings.
Hmm.
So you grab something you can see and you can feel and you can smell and you can touch, something that appeals to all your senses.
Yeah.
You are absolutely cooking at a cauldron in your kitchen. You are
I
absolutely,
love
this
that.
is a love spell that you have created for us to share here today. I mean, that is exactly what it is. You have ingredients.
I feel like it is though when so I'm also going to have on the YouTube channel the preparation of the meal as a separate YouTube
Great.
video. Um but yes, that's exactly how I feel because I was actually talking about it when I was cutting the kale because kale, sometimes can be a pain in the neck to cut. You have to cut the
Yeah.
vein and you have to blah blah.
Yeah.
But I look at it as a ritual.
Exactly.
I look at it as a form of meditation.
Yeah. It's magic. This is absolute magical and it's
Love
literally
it.
enhancing your body
Well, and I already wear black all the time, so
that's right.
I'm
You're
kind
your
of witchy
kitchen
anyway.
witch.
Yeah, I'm a kitchen witch.
Exactly. So really there is no one set ritual. I grabbed a bunch that were very unique and inspired in the moment for what I thought my
Okay.
clients would need and my members of the Love Coven would need. But it can be as simple as like you mentioned, I have a candle.
Yeah.
I light the candle, I write down a desire,
Mm-hmm.
and I fold it up, and in a safe way, I burn that
Mm-hmm.
to
Hmm.
release it. You have an opening where you like call in divine love or, set your intention. You have a closing where, you douse the candle and that's it. It could be 5 minutes. It could be
Right.
1 minute, honestly. It can be
And it's
very
stuff that people probably already have in their home.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to go buy anything.
Yeah.
All the stuff in my Love Spell book is stuff that people have on hand,
Yeah.
and if you don't, you could substitute it for I have substitutions for things
Okay.
that you would have on hand. So
Okay.
it's not meant to be this complicated thing, but we are physical beings.
Hmm.
And so bringing our intentions into this physical world, if we're serious about that, this love spell book gives us the empowerment to not just bring it into this physical world, but it also trains us to be open to seeing it. So, for example, there's been times in my relationships where I wanted my partner to do something different. So I would do a spell.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
tell me about this
Yeah.
now. Kirsty,
So
ready?
so I would do a spell and I don't need to talk to him about it necessarily all the time, right?
Okay.
And this is something that it would be like known that something good to happen to him or something that he knows I would want for him. And so I would like for example health. Like bringing more health
Yeah, yeah.
into this person's
Oh,
life or something like that. So I would get my crystals and I would have my spell. I'd keep it in salt. Sometimes I put it underneath the side of the bed. And so what that means is anytime I see him acting a little bit more healthfully,
mm,
anytime I notice that whatever the spell is, that intention that I'm casting, I'm going to notice that more often and add more energy to that. So
okay.
that's another important power of the ritual that you do with your love spells.
I love that. So if you want to learn about more love spells, join the Love Coven.
Yes.
And you can download all of the love spells. And I'm going to look at mine
Okay.
today after
Yeah.
this. What are 1 to 3 things someone can do today to improve their relationships?
Get self-reflective,
Mm,
know yourself, get curious about your partner's experience,
yeah,
and create a ritual to embolden you to speak up and ask for what you need.
I love that. Chris and I have, well, let me ask you if this is a ritual or not.
Mhm.
So, so we go to a certain restaurant, which we think is like the food is okay.
Yeah.
Um, but every time we go there, we have the deepest conversation. We have no idea why.
Funny.
It's very interesting because we'll go to this restaurant and neither one of us said it like the first like 3 times that we were there.
Yeah.
And finally we're just like, I think Chris brought it up. He's like, okay, let's go to the restaurant where the food is just okay, but we have the deepest conversations. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought so too. So it's really interesting. So we have this, and I don't know if that's a ritual or not,
Yes. Well,
but
it's definitely magic.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Just
What would be the biggest shift with the smallest effort? Do you think?
in relationships.
Yeah, in relationships.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
The biggest shift with the smallest effort. I think it's that cycle breaking. Don't expect because your emotion is intense that your action needs to be intense.
Yeah,
Um,
I love that.
but creating either a quick ritual or doing something small for yourself to just something different than you did before,
Yeah.
just to see what would happen. Having that air of curiosity and
Mhm.
experimentation.
Okay. So we've come to the place where there's the speed round.
Okay.
Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Just super quick.
All right.
We know your evening ritual, morning
Right.
ritual. You never skip.
Morning ritual. I never skip. Moisturize. Hello.
So important.
Yeah.
Remind me to tell you, I just had on one of the co-founders of Green Goo. So good. We'll talk about it off camera, but
Okay.
and we'll put Green Goo in the show notes. Really good. A practice that helps you reset your energy.
Just a mindful deep breath
Yeah.
and grounding into my experience. This is where I'm sitting. This is where I'm at. This is the experience I'm having.
hmm A book that influenced your thinking about relationships.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh. A book that influenced um I think, just How to Do the Work by Nicola LaPera de La
Oh yeah,
Pera.
yeah. I love her.
Um, the holistic psychologist
Yeah.
is really that's just so foundational for
hmm
getting to know yourself and
Yes.
then
Yes.
your partner.
Yep. And if you don't want to read the book, she's also on TikTok and she always has
She's
some
so
really
good.
good stuff on TikTok. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
One misconception people have about intuition.
That it's scary.
Mm. A simple way someone can show themselves more self-love today.
In any and every experience, even and especially the uncomfortable ones, without changing anything, bring acceptance and say, I love myself here.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love myself here.
I love myself here
Mm.
in the middle of
Ooh,
the
that
chaos.
just made my heart actually I
Yeah.
could feel it.
You will have a physical
Yeah,
response.
I
It will
did.
calm, it
Yeah,
will
right
excite.
here.
Mhm.
Yeah. Your definition of magic in 1 sentence.
Unexplained signs.
I love it. All right, awesome. Anything else that you want to say that I didn't ask that you
Oh,
wanted
man.
to? I
This
know
has
there's.
been a great conversation. Thank you
I
so
love
much for
it.
having me here and for feeding me. I
Well, we can eat
feel
more too.
yeah,
Once we're off camera, then we can really eat.
I'll take
I
seconds
know
for
exactly.
sure.
Shovel it more.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. No, I feel complete. I mean, really, thank you for taking the time to learn all about it, and I
always.
appreciate you.
So when I first met Heather, I think I told you this before.
Mm.
I was in our review and I was like a little bit not scared, like, I know, right? Not scared, but, uh, So we were in a therapeutic book club
Mhm.
together, and I just remember always, um, she always had, like, such thoughtful and intentional, um, things to say and contributions, and I always felt like I was so surface level, and I probably was. But at the time and I would have been okay with that now, but I think at the time, I didn't have that self-confidence and self-love
Mm,
yet.
mm.
Um, but I knew at that point I wanted to get to know you better, so I'm glad, like,
Oh,
almost 10 years later,
yes,
we're still connected, so
me
I'm very
too.
happy about that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so, this has been such a beautiful conversation.
For sure.
Um, but what stands out is that relationships are something that we co-create and that we
Yeah.
have to have that we have to have an internal circuit,
Mm.
not only within ourselves, but within the relationship as well. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um,
There's a connection,
yeah, I
yeah.
love that. Um, so if this conversation resonated with you, um, please share it with someone you care about. Share it the YouTube, share the podcast, like it, comment. Nourishment isn't just about what we eat; it's about how we live and how we connect. And I feel like we certainly connected today.
Mhm.
And now I know that there are a few things that I want to connect with Chris as well. So yeah. And so as always, nourish boldly and live vibrantly.